smiling. Hey guys, welcome to Fall Preview 2020. So glad that you took time out of your busy schedule to join us this evening. We've got a great night up ahead for us. We're going to be talking about the upcoming year in men's ministry, as well as hearing some stories of the lives of guys in our ministry. And to get the night kicked off, I've got our team up here with me. I've got Pastor Doug Redford to my right from the Cascade campus. To my left here, we've got Drew DeVries. He's coming to us from the East Paris campus. And the newest member of our team, Samuel Jones, joining us from the Kentwood campus. And we are excited to have this evening together with you guys. This is a little bit different for us and for you, because normally when we do man night, it's me in front of Knapp Street, you in front of Kentwood, and so on. And so tonight, guys are getting to see faces that they haven't seen before. And so I thought it'd be fun to be able to have a night to be able to share a little bit about ourselves. And so I figured we'd go down the line here, share a little bit about yourself, and answer the question, what has 2020 been like for you? So Doug, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, sure. My name is Doug Redford, and I'm the men's ministry pastor here at the Cascade campus. My wife Beth and I have been married for 41 years, and we have attended Ada Bible Church for 34 years, or what archaeologists call the Mesozoic era. We have 2 adult children, both out of the house, Andrea and Mark. We have 2 grandchildren, ages 8 and nearly 7, Sam and Natalie. And that really leads into my 2020 word. And the word is fun, because we, Beth and I, had fun this year with our grandchildren more than we've ever had in the past. We were able to spend significant time with them at our cottage and just got to really know them really well. Just fun, swimming and boating and fishing and all that kind of stuff that just makes for a great time with the little kids.
Yeah, it's nice to not be so cooped up anymore and be able to get out with the family.
It really is.
That's great. Hey, Drew, how about you, man?
Yeah, so I'm Drew DeVries. I'm the men's ministry pastor at our East Paris campus. I've been on staff for a couple years now. Came on July of 2018, and looking forward to getting into my 3rd year with the guys over at the East Paris campus. I'm married to Evie. She and I have 3 kids. So we have Ari, who's 7, Quinn, who is 5, and then we have a 6-month-old baby boy named Ezra. We've had an interesting 2020, as many of you have. The 2 words that I would say would be unique for us would be close proximity. We have existed in a setting where Evie is working from the home. I am working from the home. We're trying to raise a newborn, and the other 2 are helter-skelter. So it's been quite an adjustment, and close proximity would probably summarize our 2020. So
I think that goes for most of us, for sure, man. Thanks. Samuel, how about you, man?
Yeah, for me, my name is Samuel Jones. I'm at the Kentwood campus, and I get a chance to be a pastor there. What an exciting time for myself and my family. My wife's name is Tova, and we have a 6-month-old as well, whose name is Olivia. She's a birthday twin of his youngest, and we have just gotten an opportunity to be in a place of growth right now. Growth for us has been, being a part of a new church family, right? Being a part of our exciting Kentwood campus with Pastor Dan Wright. And I think in it, we have learned so much about the people there, and also been in a place of being able to provide and support for the men there. It's been a place of growth, because no longer can we be selfish as parents and do our own thing. Now we have to take care of our little baby and do things like parenting. So that's been great for us as well. How about for you, Trent?
Yeah, again, Trent Heaton from the Knapp Street campus, and my wife Brittany and we've been at Ada Bible for going on 12 years now, been on staff for almost 3, and man, we've just loved getting to be able to serve and minister to the families of this church these years, being able to do life with everyone. And this year for us it's been about focus. So many years normally involve a lot of busyness, running here, running there, doing this, doing that, especially with little kids. And this year we've been able to just really focus in on what's important. And it's been nice to eliminate some distractions, kind of simplify a lot of our normal daily life, and be able to just focus on what really matters. And so this has been a good year, a hard year in some ways, but a really good year for us in others. You know, guys, we're passionate about getting guys into Christ-centered relationships. We just love being able to get guys together with other men who can dig in the word together to be able to point each other toward Jesus and his likeness. And we find the best way often for us to do that as pastors is to get people connected into a men's small group. Now, in these small groups, we often talk about three core values or three pillars of these groups. We talk about sharing life, about pursuing God, and about investing in others. And Drew, would you mind sharing a little bit about that share life aspect?
Yeah, sure. So if this year has taught us anything, I think it has taught us the need for serious, sincere relationships. Guys, isolation is a killer. The scripture tells us that we have a very real enemy who seeks to destroy us. And by sharing life, we offer up a strength in numbers approach to fighting back. That, in my mind, is why it is important to join a group, to do life as a band of brothers.
Yeah, and as we share those stories, right, it gives me access to your story, gives me access to yours, and it digs stuff up in my own heart, you know, and being able to share life with other guys allows God to do some work in my heart that maybe otherwise wouldn't have happened without those guys in my life. Doug, how about the second pillar?
Yeah, Trent, the second pillar is pursue God. And by that, we mean encouraging each other to take a next step toward Christ. And in small groups, men's ministry, we do that in three ways. The first way that we do that is we discuss biblical truth. And we do that by opening Scripture and looking back at the previous weekend's sermon and asking three questions of Scripture as we talk about it. What did it mean to the original hearers and listeners? Because that's important. And then what does it mean to us today, collectively, as a group of Jesus followers? And then, most importantly, how can I apply it in my life right now? So we discuss biblical truth. We also encourage formative conversations. And by that we mean, what does it mean to be more like the Christ in all of the roles that we find ourselves in as men? Roles as husbands and fathers and grandfathers and employees and employers and in our neighborhoods and communities. And so as we learn from each other, as we hear from each other's successes and mistakes, we become better, more committed, more obedient followers of the Christ. And then we talk about biblical practices, spiritual practices. And by that, those things that we can do on a daily and weekly basis that will move us in that direction as well. And some things would include becoming a man of prayer, learning what it means to really study the Bible and to do that well. And what does it mean to have a good chair time, one-on-one time, call it quiet time or devotions, and having quality quiet times that we can in turn share with other men in our small groups. So when we pursue God, when we encourage each other to take a next step towards Christ, Trent, those are the things that we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very important aspect.
It really is. It's critical to helping men move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Samuel, how about that third one, the invest in others part of that?
Yeah, Trent, when I think about investing in others, we have a great opportunity to share the love of Christ beyond our small groups, right? So what does that look like? It could mean literally sharing your experiences and having encouraging conversations with your neighbor, right? Going to his or her place and making sure that you're taking care of their lawn or going to shovel some snow. This could be as simple as that. But there's also another piece where we're cultivating relationships with others who are outside of the faith. I think about Jesus and what it would have been like for him to just hang out with the Pharisees and Sadducees, but instead he decided to call people who were in their industry. They were tax collecting or they were hanging out and fishing on boats, and he called them and he said, hey, you know what, follow me. And lastly, I think that helps us organically think about how do we help others, right? Who needs what we have? We have an opportunity to give the resources that we have to others who may be in need.
Yeah, and guys, this share life, pursue God, invest in others. I mean, this isn't any magical thing. This isn't like some secret sauce formula that we have here. This is just doing life together. And just like the grace that God gave to us when he sent his son Jesus on this earth to live, to die, and to be resurrected to save us, just as he did that with his grace, he also has grace to change and transform our hearts, to transform our life. And we just find that when we share life, pursue God, invest in others with other people, that just provides God an opportunity in our lives to do some amazing work to transform us and make us more like him. Well, we have been praying and prepping a lot for this fall and what is coming up, and we're just so excited to be able to dig into that with you. And to do that, we got a special guest with us here this evening, Pastor Aaron Buer, joining us for Man Night. Thank you so much for being here.
This is a big moment for me. I don't know if you know this, but I've never been on the stage at a Man Night before, so this is kind of like a career moment. So
this is
I don't
it.
know what to say right now. My hands are
You've
sweaty.
reached it. You're here now.
Okay.
Well, look, I am excited for you to be here, man. I'm glad you're here with us. Can you just kind of give us a preview for all of our watchers out there, what's happening in the fall?
Okay, yeah, that's great. This fall, we are launching a brand new series. This is something we do every fall. If you're new to Ada Bible Church, we try to rally the entire church around a series. And so this year, the series is called The Company of Christ. I brought the companion journal here, sort of an advanced copy. You cannot get this in stores, okay? You'll be able to get one soon, but this is the only one out there right now. But The Company of Christ, what's this about? This is going to be a study of the Gospel of Mark. So if you're new to church, a gospel is like the historical account of Jesus' life. There's 4 of them in our Bible. And Mark's account is very interesting, and I think it's going to be a good fit for guys. And here's why. Because Mark is like the action gospel, okay? So in the original language, there's this word that's translated immediately. He uses that word 40 different times in his gospel. And so it's just like, fast-paced. Mark, he don't have time for genealogies, okay? It's like he skips over the whole birth story and just gets right to action. That's the kind of gospel, the narrative that Mark tells us. And I think, I'm going to generalize here, but some guys don't like to read, okay? Not all guys are readers. A lot of guys are, outdoors, action kind of people. And if that's describes kind of who you are, I think you're actually going to really get into this gospel. Jeff and I, we met with a scholar on the book of Mark a couple months ago, and he described it, I thought, in like the funniest way. He's like, this is the gospel that feels like it was written by an ADHD teenager. Wow. So that's how he described it, and I think that's hilarious. But again, it just speaks to the action-packed nature of the Gospel of Mark. And so something else I think that's fascinating about this book is it really centers around the theme of who is Jesus. It's like over and over in the narrative. It's just like, who is this guy? They're asking. Jesus asks his disciples, who do people say that I am? And most of the time, the disciples are confused about who Jesus is, or they don't understand. And so if you're somebody that's exploring faith, I think this series will be really great because it's just going to dive into, who exactly is Jesus and what does it mean to follow him? A way that Jeff and I have been talking about it is like, who is he and what does he want? For those of us who would call ourselves Jesus followers, Christians, what exactly does that mean? And what did it mean for Jesus' original disciples? What does it mean for us? And so if you're brand new to faith, exploring faith, if you've been a Jesus follower for years and years, I think there's going to be some really valuable stuff in this series. And so I'm really excited about it. But something else, and this might be like the icing on the cake kind of, but in this journal, the companion guide to the series, we're going to do something this year that I don't think we've ever done. Doug, you've been here for literally 100 years, and so you could correct us, but I don't think we've ever done this.
Because if you were to investigate some of the ancient archaeological finds that are here on this property, I think hundreds of years ago here at Ada, we actually did something like this, but we had to chisel it into stone.
I don't-
you know, but so I think it's there.
I don't know what to do with you right now. But
No, nobody ever really does.
Oh,
what were we even talking about? All right, back to my companion journal. Doug, I love you. You're the greatest. But here's something I'm really excited about for this fall is not only are we going to study the book of Mark together, but we are going to walk everybody through a process so that you can learn how to study the Bible for yourself. And it's a really simple process. I mean, any of us will be able to do this, but it's kind of like if you walk through this series, you will learn how to study the Bible on your own. And I think this is really cool because most of us, I think, really, it's like, hey, you should study your Bible. And it's like you open your Bible, you start reading, and you're like, yeah, so I don't, what do I read it and then what? You know, it's like we don't really know how to do that. And in this series, if you dive into it, you will learn how to study the Bible on your own, which I think is just going to be tremendous for us as individuals, but also just as an entire church. I mean, literally thousands of people going through this together, learning how to study the Bible on our own. And I'm really excited about what God is going to do through this series. So if you can't tell, I'm pretty pumped about In the Company of Christ.
Aaron, I am so excited that you and Jeff have been talking about this and that you're crafting this for our men. Switching gears here, I've heard you often allude from center stage to your men's groups. Would you mind telling us just a little bit about your men's group and the importance that that's played in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am part of a men's group. There's a group of guys. We meet every Wednesday morning. In life before COVID, we would meet for breakfast. And right now we're just hanging out at one of the guys' office. But this group of guys, we've been meeting for 4 years maybe, and I'm like the new guy. Some of them have been meeting for much longer than that. But it really is important to my life for a number of reasons. One thing is just the perspective that these guys bring to my life. Different backgrounds, different experiences. Some are married, some are not. You know, some have a few kids, some have a lot of kids. That's me. You know, and just different perspectives really kind of helps round out my life. So that's important. Secondly, this is really important, I think, for me, and I think anybody, is accountability. And so when my group meets, we walk through like a series of questions that you have to answer, you know, and some of those questions are like, you know, what did you look at this week? And each of us has stuff going on in our lives, and it's like, hey, I need you guys to ask me about this. And I have found that this is really, really important, not just for right now, but just like the history of my life. I think about any time in my life that I am on track, that I'm growing in my relationship with God, that I'm doing well, I guess, in a character sense. There's always a group of guys that are around me that I'm journeying through life with. That's true right now. That was true when I was a youth pastor in Lansing. And really, I think I discovered this whole thing when I was in college. So I went to a Christian college down in Chicago, and there was a group of guys that I played volleyball with. It was a varsity men's volleyball team. We traveled around the Midwest playing volleyball, and I got really close with this group of guys. And initially, it was just utter nonsense. You know, Samuel, you played a college sport, you know, football. I'm sure it was like pretty structured, but it was like utter nonsense. Like we would just travel and just buffoons.
so you didn't have a coach?
We had a coach,
Okay.
kind of, yeah. But what happened was there was a time that I just realized that a lot of us were stuck, you know, in several different things. One of the things for a bunch of the guys was pornography. I mean, just stuck. And I don't know if you've ever been in that spot where you just, I do not know how I'm going to beat this thing. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this thing. And this is a problem, you know, especially for, this was a Christian college, like I said. Some of these guys were going, you know, to be pastors or missionaries or whatever. And so something that we decided to do is like before practice every Monday, or maybe it was after practice, I don't remember. I think it was after practice. We would circle up for like a half an hour conversation, and everybody had to answer a couple questions. And it was like over the course of that year, some stuff really unlocked for some of the guys. Just being honest, just knowing that you had to answer some questions, we just started to go deeper, and that changed the direction of some of our lives. And so in those moments, I just recognized how important that kind of relationship is. And so, like, my men's group, like, we're not all best friends. You know, it's not like, I mean, I love the guys, but there's other people that I would, rather hang out with sometimes. You know, it's not always like, oh, goody, I get to hang out with my group of guys. But I do recognize how critically important those guys are to my life. And so that's what gets me up every Wednesday morning to show up, whether, I'm feeling tired or whether I'm mad at one of the guys or whatever. I just know it's really, really important for my well-being. It's best thing for my family, and it's going to keep me on track and out of trouble.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that experience. Thank you also for just talking about those things in your sermons and the weekend services. We really appreciate you shedding that light in your life, because I don't know about you guys, but it makes me kind of feel like, oh, it's not just me. I'm not the only one. And so thank you for serving us in that way. We appreciate it. Now, guys, we hearing Aaron's story has been really just inspiring for me, and reminds me of the goodness that I have in my men's groups as well. Doug, we got a couple of guys here from the Cascade campus here to share a little bit about their story and part of being in a men's group.
Yeah, we've got a couple of men who are part of a group that I call the Friday Morning Boys. And these are men that get up at dark 100 every Friday morning to get here to the Cascade campus by 6 o'clock to be a part of one of the 11 men's small groups that are meeting here in this building at that time. And so we have with us tonight, we have group member Kevin Breen. He's to my right and to your left. And we have one of the group's co-leaders, Luke Bagnall, who co-leads this year with Colin Finch and has led in the past with Phil Doherty. And Phil's been in contact with me, and he's required that we refer to him during this conversation as Legendary Phil. And so we'll honor his request for that. But you and Phil have been leading for several years. We'll get to the story of the group, Luke, here in just a moment. But I want to start with Kevin, because Kevin, you're the newest member of Luke's group that he co-leads. That's been about a year. But prior to that, let's go back to 2016. And it's the holiday season just before Christmas. And all of a sudden, you really didn't start to feel well. What happened?
That's correct. It was Christmas Day. I wasn't feeling that good, and so I got out of my wife's family Christmas, and she thought I was just trying to get out of it, but I really wasn't feeling that good. And I just progressively got worse. The next day, we went to urgent care. They checked me for strep, said I was fine, sent me back home, but my fever kept getting worse, and I kept getting more and more pain in my abdomen. Eventually, we just went to the emergency room. We wrestled there for about 24 hours. They eventually cut my abdomen open, and they found 1.5 liters of pus that they took out. They found out that I did have strep, and then it had gotten to my abdomen, got infected. They had to put pressors in my body, which stops the blood flow but keeps your core alive. And then that's what caused all the circulation in my hands and my legs to go away, and they turned black, and then they had to cut them all off.
So that was your holiday season
That's how
for
it started.
2016. Talk to us about how you and Julie and your family navigated spiritually through what had to be just a traumatic experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think my wife actually called the church. Pastor Kyle actually came to the hospital several times and visited with us. The outpouring of help that we got from neighbors, friends, family, the church, unbelievable. If I needed anything, somebody was there to help, which just opened doors to a lot of different things. And one of the things as we were going through this process, because of all the benefits that we were given, we said, as different opportunities come up, if there's a door that's open, we're going to take it.
And the door opened about a year ago for you to get into a men's group. How did that happen?
So we were in church, listening, of course, and and we get a text. My wife got a text from Phil.
Legendary Phil, by the
Legendary
way.
Phil. And he said, Kevin, why don't you join our men's group? And then me and my wife talked about it. I said, I'm really not a men's group kind of guy. But she goes, well, we said we wouldn't close any doors. So I ended up coming.
So on a Friday morning at 6 o'clock, shortly after that,
Yep.
you walked into the Cascade building and jumped into the group that at that point was led by legendary Phil and Luke Bagnall. And so, Luke, let's talk about the group and Kevin coming in as the new guy in the group.
Yeah, I don't know what makes Phil legendary. It must.
He
I don't know.
He just required it. That's it.
It was prior to texting someone else's wife in the middle of church or what it was, but no, Phil is legendary, and I think some of the guys, I at least knew a little bit of Kevin's story, just seeing him around the Ada Bible campus in a wheelchair. I just mentioned to him before, I was like, man, I saw your hands were like porcelain black, and he was like, yeah, you could like break them off practically. We kind of knew Kevin's story a little bit, and for him to join our group, to be honest, it was it felt a little bit normal at first, but we were all curious, like we want to know Kevin's story, and it came across as, I think he was like, hey, I want to know all of your guys' story. And we had a lot of stuff going on at the group at the time, so it seemed like every guy in our group had something major going on in their life, and to add Kevin was like, hey, this is going to be an epic group, so let's just add another big story to it, and Kevin fit right in from the beginning.
Now, you've been co-leading the group for several years, and that group's been together. The core of that, for those several years, you guys as a group have journeyed together through some pretty significant things, haven't you?
We have. Kind of from the beginning, our group kind of broke off from a group of 12 down to like a group of 3, and we were kind of like, all right, how do we grow as your group? And we kept adding on more and more guys, and as we added on more guys, it was a lot of things were going on in their lives when they were joining group. So they were kind of in the middle of a storm, per se, and some of the things were actually coming up as they were just beginning to join the group. Some major things is addiction to pornography, marriages were crumbling. There's many other things. It's just like there was some heavy stuff that we were going through as guys were coming onto the group. They were new to the group, hearing these stories, and also it was kind of like a rallying cry, like, hey, we've got a lot of stuff going, and it kind of bonded us together.
So what would you say the difference that a group makes in a man's life that's going through some of those challenging things?
Yeah, I would say, from my experience to joining a group for the first time, I was looking for connections just on Sunday, to say hi to people that I could connect with at Ada. And when I got involved in a guys group, I was looking to kind of get into a study, and all of a sudden you start getting into each other's lives where it's like, hey, these guys aren't just guys I go to church with. These are like guys that are like I'm going to do life with. So I would say that's the biggest difference for Kevin as he's joined our group. It's like we're doing life together now. Like I wouldn't have known as much about Kevin's story even beyond the prosthetics that he has here, and all the things that he's going on, and same with all our guys. We get to do life together, and sometimes it's not easy, but I think eventually we're all going to go through things, and that's like we form like a tight bond together as we go through group together.
So let me conclude with a question for Kevin. So there are men out there right now watching us, and they've got the same questions and thoughts that you had, I would imagine, before you joined the group. So they're thinking, man, what's going to be an advantage of me getting up at 5 o'clock on a Friday morning to come in and sit around a table and talk with a bunch of guys? What am I going to get out of that?
I guess for me, I would just say it's accountability, and it keeps you in the Word throughout the week. It just keeps you accountable, and just at a different level than maybe your spouse or somebody else.
All right, Kevin Breen, thank you. Luke Bagnall, thank you very much. And Trent, I'll tell you, it's just an amazing story. These stories that we've heard tonight could be repeated hundreds of times all across Ada Bible Church's campuses.
Yeah, part of sharing life together is getting to hear stories like Kevin, like Luke's, like Tom's and Fred's, and these guys that are just doing life together. And as we go through these hard things as men and these challenges, whether they're to the extreme of what Kevin experienced physically or to the extremes that some other guys face emotionally and relationally, we just know that through our healthiest seasons, most often we're surrounded with healthy community of guys. You know, we're able to dig into that stuff together and not necessarily have our act together when we show up, not necessarily have it all figured out and cleaned up and I'm ready to go, but sometimes being messy together and just doing that life together. And we believe that these Christ-centered relationships are just fundamental to a guy's walk with Christ. And so a next step for each of you out there is to get connected, to join a group. We want to see each man in our church of Ada Bible Church and in our community connected in Christ-centered relationships, and we do that in small groups here. So we want to be able to help you get connected there. If you go right now to adabible.org/men, you'll be able to get signed up to join a men's group. You'll be able to find a little bit more information about each campus and what we're offering at each campus. But we really believe that God uses these relationships in our lives to sharpen us, just like it says in Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And we also have a plan. You know, there's a lot of people, there's a lot going on in 2020. You might be asking a fair question. What is that going to look like this year? Things are very different. They're different for my kids at school. They're different for me at work. How's it going to be different for us at church? And well, we just want you to know, we have been praying and planning for this for a long time. So the week of September 27th, that whole week, we'll be kicking off our men's groups during that week. That'll be the week after the sermon series in Mark starts, and we'll be going through that Gospel of Mark together as a men's ministry. It's really going to be an exciting time for guys to be able to get in the Word, learn how to dig into the Word together, and do so with the thousands of other people across Ada Bible Church at the same time. We'll be doing this in person and online. Now, in person, that'll look like guys joining together most often on the campus. Central meeting spot with consistent meeting times. We'll be able to have that safe space for you to be able to meet with other guys at a campus level. We'll also have in-person meetings of guys in the community. You know, there's a lot of guys during the season who said, hey, we're going to stick it out together through the summer, but we're going to meet at a park, or we're going to meet at a coffee shop or a restaurant. And some guys are carrying that over through the fall. And so some guys, some of these groups will be meeting together, but they'll just be doing it off-site. There's some nice parts about that. You get to decide when and where you meet and how you meet. We've also had a number of guys asking us, hey, when are you going to launch groups virtually? We want to join a group virtually. I can't be there. We have guys tuning in with us tonight from Chicago. Hey, Uncle Rob, we're tuning in from Chicago. We got guys coming in from other states. Some guys travel for work, and some of us just aren't quite comfortable in there yet. We figured what a better time to be able to launch a virtual option of launching groups than right now during this season. So we'll be offering some online options as well. Just know this, wherever you're at, we have a spot for you in a men's group. We also have other ways for you to connect with us that we've been really excited about. We just started a social media pages, which Samuel's been running for us. Sam, would you mind sharing a little bit about those socials?
Oh, definitely, Trent. For our social media accounts, number one, you can follow us, like our pages, and just make sure you share our content right on at Ada Bible Men, both on Facebook and on Instagram. Those things are key for you to engage, encourage, and equip yourself with content that we're providing as men and pastors, as well as information that you'll be able to readily share with those around you. I think the whole point of being on social media, number one, you could go and look at all the terrible things that are happening around you, or you can go and check out some content that's going to fulfill you, encourage you, and strengthen you. And that's the whole point of this. We want to help you laugh, think, worship, and pray. And when you do those things, it's much more encouraging as a man.
Yeah, absolutely. We're also starting a YouTube channel where we'll be hosting a bunch of our Man Night, previous videos from Man Nights there. And so even tonight, we'll be posting this to that page. So make sure to check us out on our YouTube channel as well. Now, you might have a few questions for us. You might need some more information before you jump in. Maybe for you, 2020's just been a really hard year. And maybe things at home aren't going so well, or maybe, things at work are really challenging. And you just need to talk to somebody. You need some counsel in your life. And we here are all available for you to have a conversation with. And so if you need to do that, reach out to us directly at men@adabible.org. Send us an email there, or you can connect with us, like Sam said, on our Facebook and Instagram pages if you want to send us a direct message. We really want to be available to you to have those conversations. Well, this has been a great night, a good conversation amongst all of us. Special thank you to Luke and to our special guest, Kevin, for sharing more about his story, his experience, his life. Special thank you to Pastor Aaron Buer for talking about what's coming up this fall in the sermon series, and as well as sharing his own experience with us tonight. Special thank you to you guys for tuning in. We're grateful that you've taken time out of your busy schedules to join us. And thank you guys for joining me up here on stage. I always love getting to hang out with you guys and spend time with you. And we're going to have another man night coming up this fall. Be sure to tune in to our social media channels to find out there more information about that. Be sure to go to our website, adabible.org/men, to join a group. Sign up and get connected to join a group. We'll see you next time.